Gujrat. It is the most western district of our entire Gujrat, and this is one of the image of that river taken through drone. So I have been hiking over here for quite a long time, and these are some images of that area. So the image first you see is actually fault, and the last one you're seeing is also a fault. These all images are taken by me, and there are many hidden geomorphological formation in this river. So my question is, I know about it. How many else people actually know that such kind of landform or river is existing over here in the middle of the city Bhuj? So I started working on it day by day. So the first thing you would like to know is how the site it is, how many people are visiting it. So there were few numbers I come on. So in this entire presentation, I'll be showing what I searched, what I come to know, and what all conclusion I draw out of it. So I was in Bhopal and I started looking on all the data and how many people are visiting this place, tagging it. So I did an informal survey through Facebook, Instagram, Google Earth, Maps, and if Flickr, anyone was going there taking images. So you come to know the date and time and exactly when they were, how many people were there, if they mentioned. So the conclusion was a lot of people already know about this place, and it is very famous even in the tourist map on Google Earth and Google searches. So there were one formal data from the tourist department of Gujarat that overall in 2016-17, the data is from 16-17 because I did it in 17-18, around 2 lakh population was there in Bhuj, and mostly 2 lakh population were visitors overall in Bhuj city. So even the 1% of these visitors reaches to this site, it does require some amount of attention to make it more channelized or workable. So after doing this informal exercise, I did dig into what any expert has worked on it. So the reason and why, there were many questions. Why search geomorphology is existing? Why not anywhere else? And what are the plus and minuses? Why it is here? So the idea of it was come to know by researching out and reading many articles, many journals. So it is a river which is going from a very different direction, from south to north. It is going upwards towards the north direction. So I'm showing you over here is the map of Kutch, where there is in the middle of. Can you see my cursor, Debleena? Hello, Debleena. Can you see my cursor moving?
Yes.
Yeah. So in the middle of the Kutch, there is this hill range called Katrul Hill Range, from where the river starts and it ends in north upward direction in Bani Plains. It's a grassland and it just dissolved in that. It is a very unique phenomenon because of the level difference, and the entire Katrul Hill Range has many such kind of gorge overall. So from there I come to know that this landform is called the gorge, and the landform is made up of many terraces due to the high fluid erosional activity, and it has a lot of fault in it. It end up in Bani Plains. So any river which end into a plain and not into a sea is called endorheic river and endorheic river basin. It is one of the unique phenomena we have in Kutch, and there are many papers which are published on particularly this landform. Then I come to know that this landform is known as gorge, and generally gorge has terraces, but this particular gorge is very unique because it is happening on the mainland of the Kutch. It is almost a flat where there is no terraces, and it's not a hilly area. It's completely accessible by everyone, and there are many other geomorphological features and elements which are worth conserving, like potholes, terraces, uh, gorge terraces, and many more. So the conclusion was that it has a uniqueness because of its location and misfit to the geology. And why it happened? Because it has many fault in it. And in all the paper I read, they talk about, in conclusion, that to protect this site, we must include this site in UNESCO Geo-Park from India. So at least we'll get some amount of protected site in Kutch. Now, this was the work done by many of this paper were published by M.G. Thakkar, who is currently the principal and HOD of Earth and Environmental Sciences at Kutch University. Based on that, I again went up to other expert work. So other than Kutch University scientists, Gujrat Mineral and Research Development Society has also suggested this site to be included in potential geopark sites. And besides that, there were around 10 more sites which they have identified where consumption of the mineral should be, shouldn't be there, and this area should be used as a UNESCO Geopark for understanding of this landform for the educational purposes. And all these landforms are majorly a river, so they hold a large amount of scrub and wetlands in them, which are very unique to Kutch, because our scrubs are generally our forest. So it is helping to preserve a natural area in that sense. So the idea was to back up all the requirements with expert understanding. Besides that, there were many news and updates that were there already. Why there should be a geopark in Kutch, because it has many such unique sites because of its climate and conditions. Now, what the question is, what is Geopark then? Geopark is an initiative by UNESCO where you identify a single geographical landscape which has a very unique conditions, and it should be backed by scientifically and not just by cynically. Cynically, it may be a very beautiful site, but it has to be scientifically unique. So the approach Geopark has taken is where the merge of local community, natural heritage and geo-heritage for the purpose of conservation, education, tourism, economic development and sustainable development of that entire region, and not only for the site. So the entire region is getting kind of promoted by the idea of Geopark. So this can put Kutch into World Heritage Site map. And the approach they take over here is a bottom-up approach, where not only the scientific community is involved, not only the government is involved, but everyone has a fair share amount of involvement in entire project, where they also support visitors to become there, and visitors' economy can be boost up and help the locals. That is the idea. So to achieve landscape protection, it is not only about the government agencies, but also the benefit of local communities and their involvement. There are many sites in China and Taiwan, where local students who are from the earth and environmental sciences are already working as a your guide and many more things. So it gives opportunity for earning of local community, not only local community, but students who are involved in, because it is a work of guidance, is a work of educational program. So they are spreading awareness, and there are many goals of sustainable development which can be achieved by such initiative. So after going through this, I looked down into the watershed which creates such site, and what all the activities are happening there, what is actually the ground reality of that area. The entire area is accessible by main road, which is kind of a bridge, which we already saw in the image, and both the side of it has farmlands, orchard, and Gorge. So the Gorge is a place where it's a Gujarati, but I'm not sure it is used in Hindi, where it's like a pasture land where you can take your cows and they can use that area for foraging and all. Rather than that, land cover data is much more important to us, that how much land is covered with the gochar plants and how much is not, and scrubland. So this is dry deciduous scrubland which is highly invaded with the Prosopis tuliflora. These are the maps of region, valley and slopes which will help later. So, yes, right now we are looking at the Google Earth data of it. So, and with that, the understanding of where it actually falls into the, development plan, what is the proposed land use of this area. So it is important to know that what is the proposed land use of that area, so that whether we are going in a right direction or not, or how can we accommodate such kind of scenario of park in what kind of land use. So right now the entire river is marked as agricultural land, so which is not feasible if we go there, because the soil type is not such that we can do that. The entire land is terraced and rugged with a lot of erosional features which cannot be filled with the agriculture soil. So there is a misfit in it already. So from there, a way forward starts, that the first point to address such site is at least make it in non-agriculture or non-productive land use, and rather to make such site in a protective zone or recreational zone at least. So this was the image. This is the image in which you can see a lot of colors and contours. It is actually contour mapping done by me and overlapped on the site, because there was, at the time, there was no contour available for the understanding of this site. So I've been there many a times and actually mapped all the contours to understand the drops and the heights and relief map. So there are major two upstream fault is there. The middle one is going a river, and there's an upstream fault and the downstream fault. The slope is going northward, as I already suggested, and this fault is what making this stream gorge what it shapes right now. So the idea is to accentuate this unique phenomenon, and in this river, this fault has helped me to make a boundary of current proposed geopark. This area is already backed by private lands, and the middle line, which is already in both the side of the river with 30 meters of the buffer area, has made the site boundary. So from now, what you're seeing is actually a site boundary, which is backed by private lands and farmings, and these two areas has a fault line. After this understanding of major contour work, I started studying the area, what all activities happen over there. There are people who come over here for the Gorge with volunteer grass, and there are slopes which are used for cycling. There were already visitors over there, and there were already grazing work. Cows were already there. So I marked out all the trails taken by cows or animals and visitors with cycle, with pedestrians, to understand with till what point visitors are already going in. So these were some of the images which it's like abstract use of the land, that all the flat terraces which is terrace 1 and 2 is already used by as a Gorge land, and the major difference was over here where only human were able to access this area. So not cyclists, but only on terrace 3 and 4 were majorly pedestrian because of steep slope. And there are also again some disturbing activities which are already happening near Gorge area, and this highly invasive species called Procypus tulifera in Kutch, and maybe in many part of our country, where the invasion is so high that the removal of Procypus tulifera in particular land is much more severe than to do such thing is much more severe than doing anything else. So due to that, the entire ecology of that area was much disturbed. This whole area was supposed to have many grasses which were not there, or scrubs which were very less in amount comparing to the many other similar sites in Kutch. So there were people who, because of this is a river, there were very illegal groundwater drawing activity were happening. There were dump yard along the road and bridge. There were many places where informally people would just take out the sands and rocks out of it. So to stop such things also, a geopark is required where at least we provide a boundary to protect this. And from there was detailed understanding of what is the texture of that land, because no amount of mapping would do what we can do with hand. So all the elements which are very important in terms of its geomorphology was done in terms of mapping with the help of my actual going to there and mapping the enclosure, what is happening there, and all the geomorphological elements. Like if there's a downstream fault over here, the next thing we will see is a large valley with a sag pond. It again goes with the convergence zone where more than 2 sag ponds are meeting, and from there were diverse streams which are erosioning large amount of terraces, and from there were horizontal flutes and terraces, and we have seen many fossils all over the surfaces, many trace fossils all over the surfaces, which are highly endangered due to many mining's activity. So with this, I have tried to demonstrate all the important nodes. This was done in regards with geomorphology of that site only, to highlight the elements which are worth preserving and worth showing to visitors. So this became a key point, that what all I want to show to visitors. Till now, we know that visitors are coming. So from there, what all to show to visitors, and where they can pass it, and where they should take a pause. For that, all the mapping and analysis has been done. So this is a texture map for that. where I know that there's an exposed rock is there, or there's a soil. So it helped me even generate a plantation plan. So for this area, so such idea of understanding of soil type over there is much required. In this map, I overlaid the contour map with the existing vegetation map. So again, in the vegetation map, I actually pulled out different type of scrubland idea, and I mapped at that point of Google Earth image and my actual site visit to understand what all kind of view I am getting. I know these points are highly important for anyone to see, but is it visible enough? For that, I made a view type plan where I'm marking pathways and slopes. From there, I traveled and what all I could see. If I can see a long and panoramic view, or I can see only broken views. So this would help me in understanding that where should I make any visitor go, from which trail they should travel to understand geomorphology maximum of it, or for the fun of it, because all the visitors may not be same. So based on the type of visitors which we have already which the site is already having, the one is for the education, the other is for the recreational purposes, and third one may be cyclist, and the fourth one is local person who treat the site as a facility for their gocher. So based on that, I divided the site accordingly based on all the activity which are already mapped, and based on the view and texture, I overlaid all of them onto one plane to come up with the zoning idea of it. So if I take a section, so in the end of it is a blue zone, which is mostly accessible by the cows and goat, and it is already used as a gorge. So I have proposed that area as a recreational activity and facility zone for the local community. So I'm not saying that no gorge should be happen once the park is done. So let's have a dedicated area for that as well. The second zone is which is at terrace 3 and 2 and 3 was exploration zone, because there are many broken views over there. So the idea of having curiosity that my view is broken, so what is next beyond it. So most of the broken views I was getting already on terraces 2 and 3. So I planned that area as exploration, and the major faults and major geomorphological elements were there over here in the center, where terrace 4 and 5 are there, which I marked as education zone, because that's where most of the learning for such site is there. So this is till now the mapping was only done based on the activity. Then analysis part came in to divide the site in 3 different zones. In all 3 zones, what all activity can be happen, where we will be able to access that zone. So for that, entire analysis has been done. So first is a regulatory zone, where we are using it for the education purposes, where all the highlight of geomorphological elements are done. So from there you can take a pause, you can understand why site is, and you can have a guided discussion over there with the help of the park support. Then recreation facility zone, we already discussed that it will involve a lot of culture activity. And fourth is where from where the access of entire park will be there, what will be the trail head, and where the trail will end. So for that, I took an advantage of downstream fault, because at that point the difference between terrace 1 and terrace 6 was the highest of 32 meters in height. From there you gradually come up towards upstream fault. So those decisions were taken based on the overlap of slope analysis and vegetation analysis and view analysis, that what is most important over here based on its landscape value. And third is in all the positions where any person should sit and take a pause, it was based on what view one is getting. It is overlay of view and vegetation. So in the vegetation plan, land cover plan, where I get the maximum shadow or maximum amount of shadow for longer time, was considered as a pause point for for the trail. And in second point, where the movement will be there, for that any area which has very less amount of vegetation and we can just quickly pass by to it, but if it is have a large amount of view capacity, the pause point is provided accordingly. So from there a program is generated for the each zone. There will be a passing and pausing point. For the both passing and pausing point, what are the criteria of selecting, what are the concerns for it. So just in case, if we take this blue area for the recreation and facility purposes, it should have a good connection with the road. It should have a flat slope, so that car which cannot go beyond certain steep slope because it's heavy weight can come and use this site as a gorge. So each and every element has its concern to draw on the site. And with that base, I draw out a master plan, from which I make you understand this is a major road connecting the site, and this is a downstream fault, this is upstream fault. The major idea was there is already a road proposed over here, to use that road as a facility for our site as well. And there's a parking. From there you enter into the park, where you have a small information center which tells you that where you are and what is the importance of it, or it is merely for the waiting. So from there you go to you take this boardwalk which is marked in red. It's like a viewpoint for the highest different elevation, and you see a crack over here is so huge that one can actually make it as a point even in Google Earth. From there, this downstream fault, one can travel back to this area, which is refreshment, and it does provide a place for spill out. From there you take a overhead connection to this side of the site, and from there one can visit the red marked, which has lot of passing and pausing point, like to see the geomorphology of the site. And another trail which is just exploration trail, where there is already existing vegetation which are worth visiting and worth noticing. The last trail is for the Gorge. The same way one can actually go from this side to this side using the main road only, and from here the boardwalk is also available. And this is a bird watching and torture site, where this entire area can be used as a gorge with different local grass plantation, which are helpful for the gorge activity. These are some of the sections which to understand the level and the height difference in gorge area. It is a detailed understanding of the entry area, where once you park it, there's an entrance and orientation area boardwalk, which is like a trailhead, and you go towards the other side. This is the sectional understanding of it, and this is the area through recreational zone. There were some planting strategies that all the plants over here should be native to this area, should be drought tolerant, should survive in saline land because it has high salinity already. They should be arranged according to the shade requirement and water requirement. And there were many species like Rohida, Salvadora, which are very native to Kutch and Rajasthan region, which were introduced as a planting idea. So the planting was demonstrated by me only for this much understanding, which you can also see in the reports as well. So this is boardwalk, which is already having pause point as an outdoor classes. This is the exploration trail, which has a pause point as a sitting on inside of a boulder, or just to see what is happening around it. And there's a boater trail. So this particular area is already, this is a fault line which separates two different entity altogether. And this is a point from where you can see it, and this is a point where you can see the other side of the fault. So it is actual image, and I morph on it. So this is how it might look like. And this is other side of the boardwalk. And then I selected few spots on the site which were very interesting. The first is something me and some of my friends, we were mapping the entire site. So that person is doing that, but it is a downstream fault where you can see this straight line. From there, these elevations are completely different, and this kind of rock is very different. So how big students can go there and visit that place, how the gocher may look like. Even in this image, you can see the cows are still, using this area, even if there are so many unwanted and dump situation. And this is what it might look like. This is a trail where exploration trail and boardwalk both are there with outdoor classrooms explored. There is a small trail which crosses a sack pond over here. There are many sack ponds because there are many faults, but on this major fault line, there is a sack pond, and how a bridge can show the both side of the sack pond. That was the section. This is a boardwalk. At the end of the master plan, there were few guidelines for the entire watershed. Once I studied it, that there were not only one kind of ecosystem or systems. There were mesic system, hydric or riparian system, and xeric systems. One can understand that once visit the site, that all the riparian zones has species which are water loving, and where all one can plant it is marked with the blue dots. And so this was the sketch done by me, that all the Israeli bubbles should be not there, and what can be done over there. All the pasture lands can be there. Near the farms, there should be something at the edge to avoid the strong and harsh winds over there. And where there are plains and terraces which are abundant right now, can be planted with local species, like a nursery for this entire site. So there were many wind barriers. So So those were the planting guidelines which were drawn up. So that was from my end.
Thank you, Janki ma'am. That was really inspiring and mesmerizing groundwork that you have done. So I would like to ask the audience, like, if they have any query about the project.
Okay.
Anyone from the audience can ask.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. First of all, very thank you. It was a really informative session. I want to ask you that the activities which you have like placed at the edges of the church. So, is there should be any buffer spaces should be created, or any like sort of standards to be considered by providing the activities at the edge of the gorge?
So at the edge of the gorge of any kind of activity which it's not a standard or anything. I just read a lot about the gorge and understood the section that there's a large amount of level difference. So activity which are not guided and may cause any casualties shouldn't be provided over there. So any gotcha or something you won't be see for other reason, because cow cannot travel that steep with its weight. So that is why it is not that side. And cycling is something would require a trail which is very leveled, to you have good experience. So any such activity which require lot amount of construction or lot of amount of manicuring that site, manicure that site, was avoided by me. So that was the major idea.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else would like to ask? Ma'am, I would like to ask one question. Like, I saw the site, it was a very beautiful site with the river flowing in between. So I just had a doubt, like that, was the development of the Geo-Park in any way contributed to the rejuvenation of the river which was flowing?
So the river is not perennial, first of all. You have seen it is in monsoon, so that is only when the river is, having water. So that is the first point. Secondly, where the river is flowing is actually on very very lowest point of it, which is on terrace 3 and 4. So on terrace 3 and 4 there is actually nothing, and the section was derived in a way that, so on terrace 3 and 4, if anything is coming, it will have a boardwalk which is elevated from the ground, so that water can flow from below it. So that is how the section was derived for the boardwalk, to not to disturb any water or stream ways out of it.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. So I think that's it for today's session.
Okay.
So, ma'am, I hope that all of us do as amazing work as you have done. And I also hope that we would be able to break the ground in going further with our thesis. And it was a great pleasure having you here with us, and we would like to thank you immensely for your valuable time.
You're
thank
welcome.
you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am, for coming.
Thank you, Shreya.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Janki. It was so good to see your work after a long period of time. And yes, I think this has greatly helped our students to understand how a very different, from a very different lens, the river has been viewed, in terms of geomorphological formation, which is a unique idea in your thesis. So thank you again for coming in a very small notice and sharing your enlightening work to all of us. Thank you, Janki.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, wish you the best. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye, ma'am. Yeah.